Okay, hi, I'm Heather, and this is my classroom management portfolio. And so I put on words on here that exemplify different things about my philosophy for classroom management. And so I put like student involvement because I think that collaboration with students is very important, and to have a positive like classroom environment, different principles for our classroom, and then respect because there needs to be respect between the teacher and students. And most importantly, laughter because a day without laughter is a day wasted. And most importantly, because I feel like you need to have fun in the classroom. Alright, so this is my second page and it's about mostly just about my philosophy. And so I picked Barbara Coloroso, Rudolph Drakers, and Mendler and Kerwin because they mostly mend with my beliefs for philosophy. So that puts me at a medium low control teacher. So some of the components of being a low medium control teacher is that there's inner discipline, learning takes place within a group context, there's logical consequences, development comes from the innate and external forces. And so with those components, some of the teacher roles will be to use logical consequences like when necessary, and to like find behavioral issues by yourself. And then to keep a safe learning environment. I think that's very important, especially with elementary school students. And then some of the students' roles are to like, I believe it's important to have the students help create the rules. And I also believe that students need to come prepared to class every day, to have fun and to be willing to learn and have their listening ears on. And but that's also part of the teacher's role, is so that they can want to come to class every day. So the statement that I think is that sums everything up is to have the relationship between the teacher and student, that there's respect and understanding, because when there's understanding between the teacher and student, more learning can happen, and when there's respect, then they can just have a better relationship. Alright, so here's my democratic classroom page. I feel like a democratic classroom really helps with autonomy and helps with student leadership skills, self-governing behavior, student choice, civility, and helps students to have a voice. So here's my flip book, and it has different things that can help with a democratic classroom. And I believe that student jobs is one of the most important parts. I know that when I was in elementary school, I loved when I was able to help like the teachers and to have my own personal job of like putting the books away, or getting everyone lined up for recess or anything like that. But one of my favorite quotes is from Nelson Mandela, and he says, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." And I believe that through a democratic classroom that you can change the world, because we're helping students be able to live in the real world, and like through student leadership jobs doing like monitoring their classroom table or something, that helps them gain experience and knowledge and like what like to-dos and not to-dos for the real world. And so I believe that a democratic classroom is really important, and it just helps students in the long run. Okay, so this is my page for motivations, and it just talks a little bit about extrinsic and intrinsic. And through the course of this class, I found that extrinsic behavior isn't always as bad, like for rewarding students, but I do believe that we need to shift students more into intrinsic and wanting to be driven by internal rewards instead of like extrinsic. So some of the strategies that I think that could help with this is like make rewards contingent on effort, improvement, and like good performance. And so just like really making and emphasizing what they did great. Draw attention to the successes that students have achieved. So just kind of over exemplifying like, oh, you did so awesome, those types of things. And then limit practices that focus students on attention on extrinsic reasons for engaging in tasks. So those are the couple of things that I think can help students move towards intrinsic. Okay, so here's my page on rules and procedures. So some of the rules that I think are really important are to arrive to class ready to work and stay on task. I think it's very important to just like be ready to learn, and that's for me too, to be ready as a teacher. Refrain from talking while the teacher or a student is talking. I think that just has a lot to do with respect. And always be safe. I think that's important and key, and it limits a lot of things that can go wrong in the classroom. But most importantly, to always have fun and to always be engaged in the lesson. To help establish these rules, I think it's important to be short and concise with them. So students can be like, oh yeah, that's what the rule was, or like they can be posted on the classroom wall and they can just like look up to them for like references. I also believe that it's important to help students make the rules, and so they can have a part into the classroom and that they can feel like they are the classroom, I guess. And then, so I do believe in positive and negative consequences and logical consequences, which also goes underneath my personal philosophy that mends with Rudolf Dreikurs. And so I believe in the 5-step system of like negative consequences. So like the first time's like a verbal warning, but by the end, like when they're really misbehaving, there will be a phone call to the parents or guardian. And so that's what I believe. Okay, so here's my page on prevention. So I'll start with steps to build positive relationships or rapport. And I think rapport is developed by actions. It results from things teachers do. So with that being said, I think the 5 elements to building a rapport is like respect, approachability, open communication, caring, and positive attitude. With that being said, I think that also transitions into like the procedures of the classroom, because when we stick with the procedures, then students know what is expected of them. So some of the procedures I think are important are morning procedures, like fire drill procedures, sharpening your pencil. So to help implement those procedures into the classroom, create lessons that involve those specific procedures, like doing a lesson on like fire safety and like how you would line up for a class, like how you would line up or how would you get out of the classroom. I went and observed one of the classrooms, and what she did after morning meetings is they all did like a classroom activity to get back to their desk. So when I was there, they would do rock, paper, scissors, and then so each person would pair up with a different person and they would do rock, paper, scissors, and then if they lost, they would go back to their desk, the winner would stay up. And it took a matter of like 2 minutes, but yet they had a fun activity to get back to their desk. It didn't cause any distractions because they were all doing the same thing at the same time, and it got them back to their desk really quickly. And so I believe procedures are very important and to build positive rapport in the classroom. Okay, so here's my intervention page. So I'm going to start with severe/chronic misbehavior. So if a student is like acting out in line and he pushes or she pushes a kid, I don't feel like that behavior needs to go unnoticed, and so I would probably pull the kid out of line, have him walk with me or her walk with me, and then but not have the whole class punished, because I feel like that is one of the key elements with chronic misbehaviors, is to not punish the whole class. So a moderate one, if the child is disrupting the class multiple times, a moderate approach I would use is that they would get recess time taken away. This way it doesn't punish the whole class, but then the student is well aware of what they were doing. A mild one is if they are distracted with an object, I would use proximity. That way the kid isn't embarrassed that I am saying something to him, but it is an approach that I can use and that he knows that I'm aware of him or her. A thing about bullying is I think it needs to be open in the classroom. It needs to be so all students know what bullying is. A couple examples I have is to have class meetings about it regularly, to role play, do a collage so students like know what bullying is, so they could like cut out magazines and so then I can see what they know about bullying, because I feel like it's a very important topic to discuss. Okay, so here's my classroom map. So I put my tables into groups because I believe in collaboration is key for learning. And this way students can talk with their neighbors, do group projects more, and to really be able to talk with one another and to collaborate. The desks are situated in a way that they can always see me. This is our large whiteboard, and so that they all have equal access to what we are learning. Our morning rug is at the front of the classroom. It's the most important thing, I think, to have. I put a kidney table over here because and a small whiteboard because if I need to work with different groups, I can be able to see the rest of the classroom looking this way as I'm working with my students. I also put my desk in a certain way that I can, if I'm working at my desk, I can see my students and that it's not closed off and secluded. I also put my book nook over here. I didn't want any like cabinets or anything that will hide the kids in my classroom, and so it's open. There's a rug that they can read at, and then also I put my backpack hooks at the opposite end as the door so that when students come in, they just can come over here and it's out of the way. There is a lot of space in my classroom for there to be walking room, so when visitors come or if I'm working with different students, that it's easy access to everything. Just to finish up my presentation of my book, I have a narrative of why I did the things I did for my classroom map. I put my philosophy paper in here because I believe that is the most important part of this management book, and then I put different things we learned. I put the action plan in here so I wouldn't forget like where I put it, and then just different tools, behaviors that I can go back and reference really easily. And that's it.